begin recording on both main and backup. There we go. All right. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
The World of Warcraft podcast, so you don't have to. This is the instance.
Well, what a difference a month makes, people.
Oh my gosh.
I know, right? It's the instance. It's me, Scott Johnson, and Bobby Frankenberger. Bobby, welcome back. It's another month, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. I have filled out my vault.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 rows and all 9 slots, and I'm ready to talk about World of Warcraft.
Okay, good. Mine is almost full. I'm missing 2 dungeon runs to fill it out. And then what, that's our next vault day, right?
Yeah,
or no,
tomorrow.
Tuesday. What am I saying? Today is Monday. We're recording this on a Monday, everybody. And Tuesday, you get your vaults. You know, that's a thing that's relatively new in the game. And I feel like doesn't get enough praise as a fun system. It worked differently in Dragonflight, though. And was
slightly.
Yeah, slightly. And I thought it was just more complicated, and I was less engaged in it this time.
So at the beginning of all the vault stuff, it was a little bit more complicated. I think it was introduced in that when the Zandalari people got introduced. What was that? That one was called Battle for Azeroth.
Battle for Azeroth. That's the one.
It was introduced there, and it was a chest then. They didn't call it a vault. I can't even remember what they called it. It might have just been the mythic chest or something like that. And it was really just meant for high-end players. And it was a little bit complicated because they were tweaking it constantly, and they finally found a version that worked really well.
Mm-hmm.
It made a couple of slight adjustments during Shadowlands. And then by Dragonflight, they really settled on a really good, solid format where if you're listening and you don't know what the vault is, it's basically it's kind of like, everybody used to talk about bad luck protection.
Yeah.
In the roles when you would go into raids, and everybody was like, they need to fix all this stuff and have bad luck protection where if you go so many boss kills or so many dungeon runs without getting any gear, there's somehow some value in the code changes to where you're more likely to get something on subsequent runs. And they did mess with things like that. But the vault really kind of it was a different approach to bad luck protection. It made it so the more stuff every week, you will get something. As long as you're playing the game in certain ways,
right,
you will get something. And that was the big change this time, was they made it so much easier to fill out your vault because they said, screw you PvP players.
Yeah.
We're gonna give casual people, which really was a good decision, I think. We're gonna give casual players an easier way to fill out.
Yeah, and I also think it's less, even if you consider yourself a casual player, it still means, you've got to play the game. And you've got to play various systems in the game. And of course, delves are now part of it. So that automatically makes it easier if you're running delves as a solo player to have your vault filled out. But I think I just like the motif of there's a building, and in there we've got banking dudes, we've got giant guild vaults, and then on this far wall, there's this huge dwarven forged, gigantic freaking, bank vault looking thing.
So
and
have
I
you
look
ever
forward to that
have
big
you
time.
ever interacted with the vault at all? Like, have you ever gone and looked for it and anything? I mean, I know you've probably clicked on it before, but have you ever been excited about it and wanted to jump in and get it?
In this case, yes. In this expansion, yes. Less so in Dragonflight, but part of that was, I think you mentioned it, but Dragonflight, didn't they require some PvP content? Or so you had to play some PvP to get in?
If you wanted all the slots, you had to do PvP because the bottom row was all PvP stuff. So I never had the bottom row filled out because I don't PvP.
Yes, and that just bummed me out because I'm kind of a completionist and I would rather see that whole grid done. So now that they've sort of excised that from there, and I'm sure someone out there is mad about this. It has zero effect on me. It's only positive for me.
Right.
But I don't want to speak for everybody. But and I've even run a battleground since this since this expansion.
Really?
Yeah, just one, and I did really poorly, and
one more than me.
I was reminded, oh yeah, I'm not very good at that in here, and I know there it has its place. Clearly, there's very hardcore players who love nothing but PvP in the game. I am the flip side of that. I don't care about it. I don't want it. I don't put war mode on ever unless there's a really compelling reason to do it, like some kind of achievement or a mount I can only get because I had it on or something.
Mm-hmm.
But the concept as it is currently constituted of the vault, I think, is a really strong addition to the game. I hope, they'll probably still iterate on it, but I hope this is kind of the model moving forward. And the fact that delves are a part of it now, and delves appear to be, by all accounts, a permanent fixture now, or this is intended to be one. It's not, like Island Expeditions or even Torghast, even though there's bits and pieces of those things in this. It still feels like this is what the long road is meant to look like for delves, and I like that because it gives some permanence to the way things like the vault work and other ways of unlocking stuff. And when they're, what are they called when they're glowy, plentiful delves? What are they called?
Bountiful.
Thank
delves.
you. Why don't I remember that? There's a city north of me called Bountiful. I should remember that. Anyway, they have roller coasters there. The important thing is, though, to remember, folks, get your stuff done. So on Tuesday, tomorrow, you can hop in there and get some pretty sweet gear. I also really like the upgrade system throughout the week, where even if you fill out all your slots or whatever you fill out, it'll tell you what you can expect at the stage you're at. But you can see also that if you go do, say, a higher tier delve, that will bump your item level guarantee up to whatever, 610 or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah. If you mouse over it, it'll say, "Oh, complete a bountiful 7 tier, or complete a tier 7 delve, and you'll get this much of an item level option in the vault."
It works really well. So I guess the best way to dive into this episode today is we're going to have to tackle a month's worth of content. We're not here to fill you in on all the little nooks and crannies or what patch did this or that during that time or whatever. But I can tell you right off the bat, like as a big overall take here, I have not played this much WoW since 2008. Wow. And everything since around that time I played, but I wasn't like hardcore, like checking in all the time, doing my dailies the way I should, this sort of stuff. This particular expansion drives me in those ways, well and above what it has in the past. I'm not sure what the magic sauce is. Part of it might just be my renewed excitement, and that's all it takes. That's possible. But I also think the way the game's structured, from overall world level stuff all the way down to very specific things you need to do in the game, they're all so wired well together now that they feel like a cohesive whole instead of these disparate things scattered around. So in other words, I think I may have even said this during early access in another video or something. It wasn't here because we didn't have the game yet when you and I did this. It was right before your cruise, which, by the way, I hope is a good time. Did you have a good time on your cruise? We should at least...
It was. I did have a good time. I got sick on the cruise, but
oh no, that's not good.
But I made it through and did have a good time.
Did you get like motion?
Did
you have a choppy day on the seas or something? Is that what happened?
No, it was. I had a fever. Like I got a cold or something.
Oh, geez.
All right. Yeah.
Well, then you were what's the word? Patient zero on a ship. If this was 2019 or 2020, they would have parked the boat and never let you off. So.
Yeah, I know. Thank goodness.
It's 2024.
Thank goodness I could fly under the radar.
Exactly. But anyway,
and get lots of people sick.
What I like is, for example, so what I had said early on is how it seemed like chaos in that upper. I forgot the name now. Not Lights Reach, whatever it is. Maybe it is Lights Reach, but it's in Hallowfall, and it's that zone with all of the farms and the light things you got to toss your bits into, and put 3 in everybody's little thing and it pops out a dude and he gives you a daily and all that. At first, I thought that was chaos incarnate and I never wanted to go there again. And now I love it there. I love it with alts. I love it with my main. I love it as a place to grind out some sweet faction rep. It's a great place to just go and knock things out. And I like the vibe of it. And so for me, that stuff's more organic to the world than it's ever been. And while I'm out there, I'm running into other opportunities on the way. These disturbed earth things that appear like little, purple rocks from the sky. And if you're using handy notes or something, they're even more specific than that. But those things are often just full of like globs of wax you can sell to what's his name.
Oh God, the wax.
You got, sometimes it's just rep, sometimes it's gold, sometimes it's other stuff. That's how I ended up with that mount I got. The forgot the name of the thing, the links. Anyway.
Yeah.
I love just finding those. And sometimes they're challenging because you got to fight a thing. And sometimes you got to catch wax as it flies out of the air. And then sometimes it's worse than wax. It's some kind of horrible toxic thing and you got to avoid it. And there's really no reward at all. It was just a trap. And something about those, I know it's a small thing, but scattering those around like that in the world as you're just getting things done adds something to this experience, adds a kind of random treasure thing that I haven't felt since maybe Pandaria and the patch that added that island. What was that called?
Yeah, the Timeless Isle.
Timeless Isles, yeah.
Because that was really cool and exciting there too. You'd run around and there'd be random treasures. That's when the treasures really started in the world, because now they're a permanent fixture. They're all over the place all the time.
Yeah.
But you're right. Those types of things make the world feel more dynamic. You're flying through it, and it makes you want to pay attention. It makes you want to look around and at least observe your mini map and then be like, ooh, there's something there, and dive down and check it out and find things. You know, it feels more, it makes the world feel a little bit more alive, like you're in it and you're not just passing through it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And it's easy to, well, I've said this 1,000 times, so apologies to everybody who's hearing me say it again, but the strength of the game for me has always been the world's the most important bit. And everything else from that feeds into other stuff, whether it's very specific things like I want to achieve this with mythics, or I want to get real specific and down and dirty with these achievements or whatever. Like there's a vast amount of things to do, but really everything hinges on the world being as compelling as it can be. And this expansion in particular, there have been others. Pandaria was one for me that really stuck out. Early Lich King. And I also think that Legion sticks around. So does Dragonflight for that matter. I love the zones. But when the world is at its best and it's funneling me toward fun activities to do within said world, then World of Warcraft's at its best. That's when I am most engaged. And right now I'm feeling that engagement more than ever. And it comes down to so many factors. It's music in the game is some of the best ever in this game. Incredible stuff. And that's all under the tutelage of a brand new music director who just moved up for this expansion. And I think absolutely killed it on overall direction and specific tracks. The music in Halifal alone is some of the best stuff ever, some of the best tavern music in the history of the game.
Yeah.
All of that stuff, I just don't like to minimize them because those things make my cohesive world work. It's not discordant. I don't feel like I'm being taken out of the world like I have in maybe past expansions. I never felt that cohesion, for example, in what's it called? Shadowlands.
Shadowlands, yeah.
And Shadowlands was a bummer in lots of ways, but the world wasn't. I didn't feel grounded to this place the way I do in this. And ironically, we're flying from the get-go, and I still feel that way. Part of that is because these zones are massive, and that helps. But that's just kind of my big overall. We'll get into some of the specifics here in a second. And I'd like to hear your overall as well. But real quick, I want to get this out before I forget about it. We gave away a bunch of stuff during the month, started a contest on the show last month, and we were able to give away a ton of cards, a whole bunch of codes for game time. Big thanks to Doghouse Systems again for that. And we gave away a copy of the game, Heroic Edition of the game. Happy people all around. Everybody's gotten their stuff now, both physical and digital. And I just wanted to say thanks, everybody, for participating. We'll have more of that in the future, so keep an eye out for that. And we tanked together the other night in a raid team.
That was fun, man.
A brand new raid team. What did you think about that experience, especially because you were being saddled with a pretty newbie tank in the form of me? Because I've never tanked. 20 years of this game, never tanked before. Suddenly I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. And we did it. So how do you feel?
I was going into it. I was a little worried. All right, I've been tanking for a long time. I've been raiding with a team for a long time, and we go through heroic and do all that kind of stuff. And I've had brand new tanks before that I've helped, and so going into it, I was like, well, well, Scott's never done this before. He's never even touched a tank before.
I really haven't. No.
It's a completely different mindset.
Yeah.
And Scott hasn't been raiding in a while. Like, does he even remember how to raid?
The last time
You
I
know, all
raided
this-
was did I even raid in Battle for Azeroth? Did I? No. The last time I like really raided was Legion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
yeah.
it's been a bit, you know.
So we went in there and I was ready. I'm not there to like you know, destroy things and come back. You know, like I'm not a hardcore raider or anything, but I do enjoy progression and all that. So I was ready to, you know, we're gonna take it slow, and you know, people are gonna be learning. The team was getting together for the first time. None of us had raided together before, or at least not as a team, and so I was ready for it to be nice and slow. And I was talking to Tanner. Tanner was raid leading. He's you know, we know Tanner, and him and I were talking and thinking, well, we'll probably get stuck on the second boss. We might get through it towards the end of the night and get to the third boss. But we've made it. We downed 6 of 8 of those bosses on the first night.
Yep.
Some of those are challenging tank fights, Scott. You did a great job.
Yeah, here's what I think the magic is in this, or the reason it worked out. I didn't go in as blind as I felt like I might be, because I spent weeks, even prior to the expansion launch, getting my head around this paladin for the first time, and then doing a ton of heroic dungeons.
Yeah.
And that means tail end heroics for Dragonflight, and then as soon as the new thing got there and I got to level 80, it was like, all right, we're back to it. So I tanked a ton of normal and heroic content, and it turns out that's good practice for even the big show, which when you've got your 25 friends there or whatever. And it just kind of clicked with me. It's weird because this has been the most intimidating job in the game. Healer's not far behind it. I still don't know how those people can not lose their minds. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
So big ups to everybody out here. Their heals their team well. But I just thought, well, there's no better way to do this than just go for it. Well, the good news is if you just play the tank, and I also mainlined the protection spec through most of the PvE content.
Yeah.
That I led to 80. And while you might say, well, you're going to kill stuff slower, sure, but I'll kill 20 mobs slower than the single target that some of you DPSers are doing. So that's how I would play. I'd gather 1 million mobs around me and kill them all at once, and often I'd rip through quests very quickly as a result. This is not new to people who maybe main spec tank, but for me, it was like this temptation of, should I just move over to Rep Pally for a little while, and should I grind that way and then worry about this? But instead I was like, nope, you're going to learn what it means to taunt at the right time and pull this that way and kite this guy the way you need to. So when the time comes, there'll be in these innate instincts, and you'll have to adjust, and there's some things you still don't know, but you'll get it. And it turned out really well. I think a huge part of it is we have an excellent team overall. Like, everybody was kicking butt.
For sure.
But we one shot 1 through 4, and then
I think we only died once on the 5th boss, and then I think once on the 6th.
Yeah, and then we
hit the freaking wall on that 7th boss. The Silken Court that's a crazy fight.
Those two can eat a turd. I freaking hate them. It's really crazy. It's fun, but it's crazy in there. And that's where we ended the night, about a 3-hour run. But to get 8 of 9 in the first night, albeit on normal, is bodes really well for all of us, because I think as soon as we hit, we gear up to heroic, we're going to have a great time in there.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun. I'm really looking forward to it. And now we're on that second to last boss, and we get to, this is what I love about raiding, Scott, is the progression. I am the opposite of of John on Core, if your co-host on Core.
Yeah.
I love wiping over and over again. I love going through the trash and chit-chatting while we're doing it, and then I love focusing and repeatedly dying and trying to figure out what we're doing wrong. Like that's I love that.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's fun. And I had fun, and by the time we'd at least taken down maybe 2 of those bosses, I felt like I could relax and not be so uptight about whether I was going to blow it or not.
Yeah. On the first boss, you forgot, or something was going wrong, and you didn't ever taunt the boss ever.
I don't know what happened there. That was still janky, but I also reassigned it, and it worked every time after that. So I don't know if I had.
So once you figured out how to taunt, things went a lot smoother.
Yeah, it went fine. But I can't wait for our regular nights. We're gonna be doing these on the weekly. For those wondering if we are gonna stream this stuff, maybe not right away, but that may happen. We'll see. But grats to that whole team. We had such a good time in this week.
It was
I guess
very fun.
I guess Friday we reset and go again, right? Start from the top.
Yeah, every week it'll be different. If you can extend the lockout, you can decide you want to start on the same boss again, but that's a choice that you make. And usually people don't make that until they're trying to make a final push, and people have. You want to go back and get gear from those first bosses,
right?
Again, right. So,
that's the thing. I got no gear, no meaningful gear from any of those encounters. But lots of us did, so I'm really hoping Friday will be my happy gear day. We'll find out. Yeah. Anyway, went really well, and again, huge thanks to that team. We are called the Core Within.
Yeah,
it's pretty stupid, but I love it.
It was my idea, so don't call it.
Oh, it's not stupid at all. It's wonderful and inspired.
Because it's the Core Guild, right?
Yeah.
And so
I do have. Okay, so let's get into the overall on the month. Bits and pieces. One thing I wanted to say early on is that the early access thing happened after the show had aired. I think a day later. I can't remember.
Yeah, we were recording the day before early access.
Yeah. And it was a bummer for you because you had to leave and couldn't really even take advantage of it.
I got to play like an hour and a half of early access.
Yeah, that sucked. But I have an opinion about it now, and it may surprise people what I have to say, because I thought I was going to be really glad they offered the option to play early access.
Sure.
I think it could be way better next time, but I think it was kind of bad this time. And the reason I think it was bad is the full story as would be presented campaign-wise to players on day one, normal, not early access, was not fully in the game yet. So we all hit a bunch of artificial walls and went, oh, that's not here yet. Or I guess I'm done with Thrall for now. And you weren't even really sure of this unless you were really paying attention to news and stuff, but you didn't know what was even going to launch on the day one and what's missing here. And why is it missing? Is Blizzard like cramming? You know,
I don't know.
I couldn't really get my head around what the deal was there, but I think it was a vastly better experience the day everyone played the game and the fullness of that campaign was ready to play.
Yeah.
And it felt less empty. It felt less, what's the word? I felt like I was in a PTR server is how it felt for a few days.
You know,
it bummed me out.
This is probably almost certainly me doing the Sweet Lemons thing, but I'm kind of glad that I missed all that experience of feeling weird about hitting those walls. It felt to me from hearing about it like that it just ended up being that a bunch of people who don't care about the story and just wanted to level to max level as fast as possible so that they could get to the end game faster and start doing all that stuff faster. It felt like it was just an advantage to those people.
That is, yeah. I think that's who, gained advantage from it. I mean, I suppose I got some of that because it got me there. I got to 80 pretty quick. And then, of course, they nerfed it. Didn't nerf it. They buffed the game for launch day because they wanted to slow down progression. People are getting there too fast. To be honest, with the alts I've been playing, I haven't really noticed that big a difference. People were kind of freaking out about that. It wasn't that noticeable to me. Whatever they did, it didn't seem to make a big deal. But then again, I leveled this tank in a tank spec and then brought in DPS alts and killed things quicker. So maybe it was just my perception. But anyway, I don't think they should do that. If they do it again, I think this game needs to be ready to go in all of its finished features for a normal day one launch for most people. That should be your early access state of the game. If not, then what am I paying, what, $40 for? Whatever it was, additional to get it early. I mean, some of the extras are nice. The Sky Rook mount thing, what are they called? Whatever rooks. The blue birds with the electrical business. You have all the whatever they're called.
Remember.
But that
Electro Birds.
That's an awesome mount, and I use it a ton. But all that being said, I just think that the game I felt like I was still beta testing, and it didn't feel great. And there were just some broken stuff. Like I would talk to a, no take candle kobold somewhere, and he'd say, yes, treasure or whatever, and do a thing. And then I would accept its quest, and the quest just straight up did never show up. And I would reset it, and it still wouldn't show up. So there's a lot of that going on. Also, I had a bug where if I mounted, I know what it was. The Diablo 4 mount, it's like the 3-headed dog bonus mount. I love that mount, especially on my Warlock. He's just awesome. But the problem is that when you mount him and then you start moving before he's fully done animating or before the bar fills, you fall off of it and now you're invisible. Wow. And it won't fix unless you relog into the game. You can't do a /reload. You have to relog into the game, or you have to zone in somewhere. So I got to go find a load screen, which actually is harder in WoW than you think. You
couldn't do like a reload UI?
I tried that. /reload did not work, and I tried it over and over, and that never worked. And I tried disabling mods, re-enabling them, reloading the UI again. Nothing did it. And it was my shield and a hammer just floating out there. I don't know what I'm guessing other people see the full model. It's not a problem. It's something on the client. Yeah. But now that seems to be gone. It seems to worked fine. So there's just all this stuff was happening during early time where I just was like, I just spent $40 to do what exactly? I guess get ahead on leveling. But then people like you who were even gone a week had no problem catching up. I don't think that was even an issue. Yeah. I think next time, unless there's they're explicit about fixing some of this, I don't think I'd do it again.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm if they're offering a mount and a pet, I'll probably end up doing it again because that's why I did it in the first place. And not to belabor the point. I know we got a lot we want to talk about, but I'd love to see the numbers, of who got early access compared to previous expansions, because my gut tells me that people weren't doing it for the early access, and that the only reason I can think that you would add early access is just because you're trying to get money out of people.
It's more revenue stream for a game that hasn't changed their monthly price since launch. And
it doesn't feel like they've ever needed it before, and then they put all these things into place that made it so that they wouldn't have an advantage if they did have early access, making it so that you couldn't access Mythics until week 2, you couldn't get Mythic Plus until week 3, stuff like that. So,
yeah, I think early access on something like just pick any other game, Elden Ring makes sense to me. It's primarily a single player experience, and that the game is just the game, and there it is, and it's done. There might be a patch, but it's not, functionally the game is there. MMOs are just too far, wide, deep, and tall. Like so much there that there's no way that you're going to get in. You're going to get the core thing, and you're going to be able to get started, which I did, and that felt fine. But it also just felt like all the gates were in place. No gates had been lifted. No time gates, no progression gates. All the gates are down. So you're in a mall with like 3 stores that are open. That's how it felt.
That's a really good analogy, because I've been in a mall before where pretty much the food court is open and that's it.
Yeah. You're like, I really need to go down to Hobby Lobby, or no, what's the one it's not even close to Hobby Lobby. What's the one where they get all the goth shirts?
Hot Topic.
Hot Topic. I got to go into Hot Topic. Nope. The fence is down. I'll wait till but I paid $40 to go to Hot Topic and it wasn't open. That's how it felt.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm using Hot Topic or why Hobby Lobby even came up. I don't even like that place. Well, anyway, so that's my only thought on that. I otherwise have had nothing but positive experiences, and I have loved this expansion so far. I've loved the story. I've loved everything about it. I do think there is a missed opportunity I want to bring out on top here. I haven't talked about this anywhere else. They missed an opportunity with the Earthen. Every expansion, it's either like new race, new class, sometimes a combination of the two, Pandarans and monks, for example. Most of the time, though, it's like, well, here's your demon hunter and good news, bad news, only night elves and blood elves can be that thing. In the case of the last expansion, you got your dragon folks, and they got to be a new class. So it was a little bit, that was a lot like Pandaria. But it's usually every other, right? It's like new races, new class, new race, new class. But with sub races and everything else, I feel like they've gotten a little more fluid with it. Here's the missed opportunity. This game introduced the Earthen, so the Horde finally have a version of dwarves. And for the most part, I think they're well received. I think Alliance people are just kind of like, oh, more dwarves, huh? Big deal. But for us, it's like, oh, no, man, freaking dwarf. This is great. We don't have these.
Yeah.
But they missed an opportunity. The lore goes so deep and so awesome on how these are like, literally, they're called Earthen. They live mostly underground, and they dig and mine and are constantly doing things that evoke earth and mud and stone and all that.
Yeah.
And you don't release this expansion with a Thurgist class, some kind of earth magic class. Now, I know all you shaman out there going, what about us? We have earth things. I'm not saying you're one little aspect. I'm saying like something that is a focused Thurgist, like is like the earthquakes. And again, I know there's some of that with shaman, but like, everything has to do with rock and stone.
Yeah.
What were they thinking? I mean, I know that you can only do so much for expansion. You got a lot of new systems this time, but I am literally bummed that wasn't a thing, because I would be leveling one right now. It would be amazing.
Yeah, they could have differentiated it from shaman as well by giving it a Titan magic flavor instead. Because they're obviously connected to the Titans and stuff. So you could, there's a lot of like rune magic with Titan stuff. So they could have been like, you could have had like rune casters and earth shapers and all that kind of stuff. I agree. That would be an awesome class.
Yeah, even just amazing. A secondary, like 2 classes. Do like you did with Demon Hunters. We don't need maybe 3. So give me a tank spec, which makes sense for a big earthy, dude.
Yeah.
Or that or maybe DPS, but maybe even some kind of healing thing. Maybe it's more utilitarian, like providing, instead of heals, you're providing stone shields that.
Well, like I said, the rune carving, right?
Right.
Like you plop runes on the ground that people can stand in and do stuff. And
great idea. It's a great idea. What would they think? You know what? I bet if we could ask the right people, they'd say, "Oh, well, this was on the whiteboard. We just didn't get to it, or something."
I'm sure that they have. There are no new ideas, right? Like I'm sure they have thought about this. They have rune spells in the game already that other like NPCs cast. Stuff you have to either stay out of or get into. So I'm sure they've thought of this, and I'm sure that there are lots of conversations happening, and I'm sure there's a whole contingent of people who want to make it happen, but for whatever reason, it's really hard.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, let's get down into the dirt where these guys would go if there was such a class, and that is the newest system in the game, the Delves. Overall, I think Delves are really great, but I did not have that impression at first. My first impression was, well, these are going to get boring quick because I don't see a lot of variation in here. But here's where I was wrong. The variation, maybe if you ran only at tier 3 for the rest of your life, sure. You're going to limit your variations. But when you go up in the tiers, and by the time I got to 6, 7, and 8, it was like wildly different what you were doing in these same delves, which may share similar layouts, but they would throw new mechanics, new reasons to be there, new quests to do while you're in there. And also, it's very generous with giving you gear commensurate with the tier level you choose. And I have very quickly shifted from these are okay to this might be my favorite thing in years that the game has done. And I've been curious the whole time because you and I haven't really talked about it in depth. What do you think of Delves and how they've been executed?
I've enjoyed them so far, but I am still worried that that my excitement is going to peter out very quickly after a certain point. Right now, Delves are the best place to get gear with an asterisk. I know that people who are running really high level, like +7 keys and higher, the Delves are not great for you. But in terms of like the vault, If
right.
you have to be running a +7 mythic to get the same vault rewards as tier 8 delves that you can do solo.
Yeah.
Um,
Even more
so
so now because they've nerfed it for solo and buffed it for multiplayer in there,
right,
which is what they should
So
do. I think these should be focused on single player, but anyway.
yeah, there's been a lot of back and forth balancing on the content with delves, right? For a while uh it was super hard to do solo then and really easy doing it with a group.
Yeah.
There's there was one I didn't experience this myself, but I heard somewhere that there was briefly a bug where you know how scaling works when you go in with more people,
Sure.
they change the health and damage numbers, right?
It's
Well, there was a
basically
bug.
it's like Diablo, running with a friend in Diablo or not. It's like that kind of everything
Right. They
goes or
they make
shreds.
it a little bit harder because you have more people there.
Yeah.
Um, so there was a bug apparently for very briefly where if you went in, I'm going to make up some numbers,
All right.
but if you went in solo, bosses might have like like 30 million health or something.
Yeah.
But then if you went in with two people, they'd have like 20 million health.
Yeah. Less
and
health.
do less damage, and like they made it even easier than the solo one. It was weird, and so there was all this like, and then Bran Bronzebeard apparently would sometimes attack you.
Really? Wait, is there a
Yeah,
mechanic tied to that? Like he would get turned?
no,
Or?
it was just the AI was weird, and so they were acknowledging it on on social media and on the forums and everything, saying, okay, we're fixing this, we're tweaking this. It just felt like for a time there that it was like maybe this could have used just a little bit more testing before it.
Yeah.
But it feels really good now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I
I'm
feel like it was
enjoying
about a week there of chaos in the month that just felt like they
Yeah.
weren't sure what was going on. But it feels pretty solid right now. I was also around for one of these runs where I did 2 people, and it took us longer to take that boss down together than it did with me on my own. And I think that's how it should be, right? I don't want to go in there and just chip away, even if it's not really hurting me that much. I don't want to chip away in an eternal freaking damage sponge. That's not fun. Like I can think of plenty of other things I'd rather be doing than that, and I feel like they balanced that out pretty well since. And to my luck, most of these problems were happening when I was not running. I was maybe running up to tier 3 and only doing it here and there. I was doing other stuff, so really it's been post all those fixes that I've enjoyed it the most. And I don't know. I think it's really strong. I would like to see even more variety, maybe less spider shit. There's things about it. There's a lot of spider shit, Bobby. A lot in there. Yeah. Spider webs, spiders themselves, big old orb weavers that are a pain in the ass. Like, I get it. This is an expansion where we're doing a lot of spider things. And for the most part, I'm happy with it. But I think I wish the delves were just a little less on theme for that. I wish they were maybe, here's just a delve that's like a dungeon. It's not meant to tie into Xal'atath or any of her bull crap. This is just a room full of shit I got to do. So your experience may vary out there, everybody, but I think overall, though, I think Delves is a strong addition to this game, and I hope they keep tweaking it.
Me too.
It's good stuff.
I think it needs to lean into more single player, and they need to keep balancing it. That's really.
I agree. Encourage me to go in there more often. And also make it easier for me to grind coffer keys, because I don't like the current way of doing that. It's not my favorite thing in the world. You get them from various activities, but the one you get them from the most is those memory deals. What are they called? They've been calling it since pre-patch. What the hell's the stupid blue memory zones? Whatever it is.
I know what you're talking about.
You find those bubbles on the overworld. You go out, you click it, you go in there, you kill a bunch of stuff. Those always drop a ton of those fragments, but you need 100 fragments to get a single key. It's a little grindy, and I don't like doing delves unless there are the bigger coffers in there. Like I want the big ones, and nothing feels worse. By the way, I did this the other day. I hovered over some stuff on the map, and it said, "Oh, you've got like 3 keys. You're good." Then I forgot, logged in as my hunter, and I hover over the same things. I'm like, I'm going to go do those as the hunter. And I forgot, I don't have the keys.
Yeah.
My paladin has the keys. So I go down there. I do an entire run because I'm just being stupid. Tier 8, the whole thing. Get to the end. I'm like, sweet. Gonna find that big fat chest in there. Sure enough, there it was. I'm like, all right, here's my thing. I run around, pick up gold with my feet. That's first thing. I'm very methodical about this. And then I go open the 2 stupid little candle boxes, and they're fine. I get some rep, whatever. And then I'm like, all right, the big box. And I right click on it. It says, you don't have any coffer keys. And I'm like, shit. And there was nothing I could do.
What could kill him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Would it kill him to give just a pop a little, if you go into a bountiful delve, just a little like warning box that pops up? Hey, just so you know, you don't have any keys.
Yeah.
Do you still want to do that?
And I think when you're choosing your tier, there is some language there that's in red that says you'll do better if you have keys or something, or so you know. But it's not, if you're used to just getting in, getting out, getting in, you're just not paying attention. And I felt like an idiot, but
yeah,
whatever. I got, I cleared it. I got a what do you call it? A bump on the vault. Just for doing it.
Yep.
So there's other ways to get those rewards. And that's the other thing I really like about the expansion so far is everything seems to be contributing to a greater whole. And the Warbands stuff is awesome. I want to play alts way more than I usually do. Like way more. I do think it's weird that if they haven't done the story quests, they're gated from a lot of things that come out of the story quests or unlock because of them. So for example, they just launched, was it yesterday or the day before, the story mode raid thing, which is really just the last, some lead up quests and then the last encounter of the raid, the current raid.
Yeah. Yeah.
But done in a kind of a story way, almost like Follow a Dungeon way. It's not hard. It's just cool to see it mechanically and everything. And there's some story there. But my beef with all of that was, well, I would like to see more of this and see the entire raid that way would be fun. Mm-hmm. I think I understand why not, though. That's a massive ton of content. It'll take people a long time. They'd probably rather have you LFR in there anyway for that. But what was my point? I had a point that I was heading to there. Boy, what a great point it was I had going. It must have been really important. I think I was making the point that I'm going through all that. I can't do that on alts until they have also maxed out the main campaign story.
Yep.
That's a little lame. Especially, it only feels lame because you're giving me all this other shared stuff through Warbands.
Yeah.
And then this one thing, you're like, nah, sorry, you got to go got to go hang out with Thrall and Anduin and everybody and do their crap.
Feels a little arbitrary sometimes.
Yeah. But I mean, honestly, I have to say I'm impressed with how many of the systems do jive now, because WoW for its entire history has always felt disjointed in that way. It's just like, I don't have enough rep on this character, so I got to go redo all these things. The fact that they're sharing so much of what they do share, I should really be grateful. So trying to be more thoughtful about that stuff. Speaking of story, let's talk about it. A lot of stuff missing in early access. Again, not my favorite thing about it, but once things kicked off, I really like where everything went. One real strength at this time versus previous efforts, although I shouldn't say this has always been true, but it feels like, when somebody's got a text bubble above their head and you talk to them and they do the stay a while and listen thing, it's usually fine, but it usually doesn't add much for me in the past. This expansion has so many amazing dialogue moments between characters. You just have to click them and listen. And I am telling you out there, do not skip those. Even like the final one with Anduin and Thrall up on the hill.
Maybe the best one.
It's great. And what they do leading to that is pretty great. But when when it's done and you do the optional thing that it actually really gets great. And I'm torn as to whether that's good or not, that people aren't not forced, but they're not going to get that unless they make a choice to do that. And some people choose not to do it based on previous experience. Like these aren't ever that good. I don't want to sit and listen to them talk. Or often it's not voiced in the past, right? It's usually just text bubbles. But these are voiced and they're incredibly well done. And they add so much context to the story. Like that's how I did the story this time. I listened to everything, read everything, like super into it. And I think they're killing it. I think this is the best it's been in a long while. You still have a lot of questions and loose ends. There's still some. I got questions about why everyone's feet are bare feet in this movie. There's constant, this game. In this game, everyone's got bare feet. What's that about?
Yeah, there are so many cutscene shots of Xalatath's feet all the time.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm sorry, I mentioned earlier the Spider Queen lady is Xalatath. I mix their names up all the time. That's not what I meant. I meant the other one. What is it?
Ansarek, Queen Ansarek.
Ansarek. She's the one that killed her mom in the one thing. She's she's pretty rude. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, Xalatath, big time foot stuff. I'm watching this going, is Tarantino like a WoW fan? And like, what's going on here?
new WoW cinematic director.
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, you never know. You're overall on the story as a whole?
I'm absolutely loving the story. I think they're doing a lot more showing, not telling. It's like you said, I think it's great that they're actually getting the story out of the way in a way, because they're just people who don't care, who just want to go through, and I don't want the fact that I enjoy the story to get in the way of other people's enjoyment of the game. So all they've done is pushed it over to the side a little bit and said, if you are interested in it, all you got to do is click this person and you get to experience it. Like you said, it's fully voice acted.
Right.
There's books all over the place, and I always like to read those. There's lots of really interesting information there. It's all really, really good. You mentioned story mode rating.
Oh yeah, can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
I did it last night, so I'm curious what you think before I say anything, because I'll bet we're on the same page.
I was interested in doing this because this is brand new. So the idea behind story mode rating was you're going to get to experience. This is how they pitched it, right? You're going to get to experience the raids in a new way. The story that was in the raids, and a lot of the story historically has been in the raids. Like, a lot of the storylines conclude inside a raid. You build it up in a quest line. You're doing all the footwork. You're doing everything, boots on the ground, doing all the work for all these NPCs, and then it always ends up concluding inside a raid. And it just happens to be that not everybody's a raider. Not everybody even wants to go into LFR. I know LFR makes it easy to experience, but some people just don't want to do that either. And also, it's kind of chaotic and everything's moving fast and you can't really experience it, right?
Yeah.
So they were like, let's do story mode rating where you go in and experience the story. So I went in and did it. And my first thought, Scott, after I finished the story mode raid was, that was dumb.
It's dumb. It's not that the culmination of the story and the faction leaders in the Spider Town coming together and talking after, like, all that stuff's great. You'll get that same shit at the end of when we beat it for real. When we do our normal completion, we're going to see the same story. So it's not like that changes because of the way you watched it. It's also that encounter, right? There's some lead up, like outside, you're like, oh, we hear rumors of an uprising. Blah, 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 go do all these things. You do like these 4 or 5 quests. And by the way, finding about this is something you either read online or your friend told you, because the starting of the quest at a spider on the whole other side of Dornegal, who's just hanging out over there, and it's not even like the shielded quest symbol. It's just a little, good old fashioned thing. And so I walked right past him at first going, I don't want to take another spider quest. What are you doing here? Get out of here. And then I realized, oh, no, that's where this thing starts. So I'm with you. It's a little bit of a letdown. It basically felt like an experiment to say the follower dungeon system, I wonder if we could do that with raids. Here's our first stab at that. It's the final encounter. And it plays out fine in that regard. If they want the entire raid to have a follower version of the raid at some point, even if it's time delayed, so that all the hardcores get to do what they want first. Yeah, thumbs up. Do it. Give people a chance.
I disagree with you actually on that.
All right, go.
Because that's kind of what I thought in a way at first. Like you said, you pop into the last boss, you just beat the last boss. It's a super trimmed down version, which has whatever mechanics still remain after they've gutted all the mechanics out of the encounter for the story mode.
Yeah,
they're very inconsequential, and you could just stand there probably, and the boss would die.
Yeah.
You're really just there to experience the last boss and then get that cutscene. And when I came out of it, I thought, wait a minute. We were able to get the cutscene before. Like, even in the game, there was always an NPC you could go talk to, and they'd say, let me tell you what happened in the raid. Yeah. And you get the cutscene. Like, why do we need to go in and watch 9 other NPC follower people shoot their spells at the boss and then get like it just seemed like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, there was no, and there was never a chance, no matter what role you were playing. DBM is still yelling at me during this fight.
Right.
So I'm like, getting up close and I'll say, run away or get away or debuff this or whatever. He's yelling stuff at me.
Yeah, yeah.
And I realized, and I'm reacting to it. I'm going, well, yeah, let's get the hell out of that. That looks bad, whatever that is. And then I started to realize it's not doing anything to me. I'm not dying. I'm not even coming close to like losing health, I don't think. So I just stayed and ignored DBM and took her down. And it was the stuff she does in that fight is pretty epic and cool. I've seen the video of Heroic. It's insane. Like, awesome encounter. It's just that this little...
You're not getting that. So
no, it's weird.
So yeah, I thought... so I had some bad feelings about it, right? But then I thought about it some more. And I thought... Because I was literally in my notes typing up my complaints to talk about on the show.
Yeah.
and as I was thinking how best to criticize everything, I literally typed out the sentence, it just feels so inconsequential, like when you have to fight so-called powerful enemies at the end of a quest chain, but really they're no danger at all.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, like even if at the end of a short story side quest, they're like, go kill Warthog McGee because he's been killing
and he's like
sheep.
an epic skull. He's got the skull thing next to him, and he's like a plus question mark character, and but in nameplate only though, right? Because like there's no way that this guy's gonna kill you because they don't want you to die. Blizzard doesn't want you to die. They want you to experience the end of the quest.
Right.
But that's when I realized, oh, that's what this is.
Yeah.
This is really just you've spent all this time questing and manipulating and spreading secrets with the Nerubians and setting up this whole plan to take down the Spider Queen that everyone now is rallied against.
Yeah.
It would be such a letdown not to get to do the last part of the quest, which would be take her out. Yeah. So they're just giving you a way, just like every other quest chain, to just do the end of the quest.
Yeah. That's it.
And so, when I thought about it that way, I thought, oh, well, that's kind of cool. So I wish they had just pitched it that way.
Yeah, sell it to me that way. It was sold in a very different way. Instead, just tell me. I think you're exactly right. If you are somebody who's either comes just for the story and the PvE aspect of the games and you just don't care about the farming and the getting there and the beating the... I mean, that challenge doesn't matter to you. The game's always been pretty nice to you that way, but you never get really good closure, or it hamstrings the writers. So the writers are like, all right, well, we got to finish this quest line for those who don't see this raid. But for people who see the raid, okay, how are we going to write that? Because that is the same story, a different conclusion, or it has to be lighter here or whatever. Now they're basically finding ways to say, no, we want the impact across the board. Like you're in here, running some sort of Mythic World first attempt. We want that for you, and we want you to get out of those things also. But also, hey, Larry only have an hour to play once a week. You should get to see this too because you worked pretty hard on the rest of these quests, and now you're at the end and you have no closure. So from that viewpoint, that's a really cool way to do this. But you're right. It's not that I don't think it's not like conniving, but they weren't like the way this was presented to us was not what I ended up getting. You know what I mean? And so I don't know.
I thought I was going to go in and get to experience the story of it just felt like it was different than what it is. And it's what it actually is pretty cool. Although I totally agree with you. The quest you get to go do the story mode thing.
Yeah.
It's just a regular yellow exclamation point. Put a shield behind it. It's part of the main story.
Yeah, beef it up. It shouldn't be just a little side thing. And also it's a spider who can't even really talk to me. Like, what are we doing? That was just a weird way to do the whole thing, and I kept questioning myself. Am I doing the right thing? Because then it would split off into go into the middle of town and disrupt it and destroy all these things, and then do this other thing in the middle of town. And they're like, all right, well done. Now go talk to the vizier. And I'm like, am I just on a quest chain I missed the first time through here? That's how it felt.
Yeah.
And then when he finally says, all right, we've got movement in the castle, get up there, and I went and talked to the dude in the front who literally his prompt is, let me in the thing, on story mode, and then you go do it. And I was like, oh, okay, I see what's going on. So it's a little bit underbaked. this entire
Mhm.
thing. But I think that, like Torghast before it, like Island Expeditions, like other ideas that are a little half baked, maybe this one, a little more time in the oven, we might get something special out of either future patches for this expansion or whatever 12.0 brings. Maybe this will be more fleshed out. So
Now, what does worry me as we're talking about it is that we've already mentioned several things that feel half baked.
yeah,
I hope this doesn't foretell something like I hope this isn't like an omen. I hope it's I hope it's something that that is not gonna be a big deal and they're just gonna continue to iterate and fix things. And they have in the past. We have some evidence of that, but I hope it's not. They're also trying to knock stuff out at a faster cadence now, so I hope it's not a consequence of that, and then that gets worse. So
yeah, those are all questions that have to be answered with time. But on the one hand, everybody's like, "Ooh, an expansion almost every year," right around. That's amazing. They've been trying to do that forever. Well, why do you think it's been hard for them in the past 18 years? Because it's hard. If you want to hit quality levels, standards, and provide tons of content quickly, they're kind of at odds with each other. Stuff doesn't just happen. But they've also streamlined a lot of pipeline, technically and otherwise, over there. So maybe now is the time where all this can happen. But yeah, I worry about that a little.
yeah.
You probably have to.
But hopefully it's something. I mean, I'm sure they're worried about it too. So hopefully they're on top of it.
Yeah, we'll have to see. What else? Oh, you mentioned something here about the Arathi. I love everything that's happening with the Arathi, with that zone, with the crystal sun that turns on and off every 3 hours. Everything about that place, everything about Hallowfall is amazing. It is number one zone in the history of the game for me. And that says a lot because I put up a video in the last couple of weeks or something describing my favorites. But this thing leapfrogged over my previous favorites. And it's not just how it looks, although it is amazing how it looks. But the way that zone is constructed, the things you can do in there, the diversity of content available in that zone alone, and then add on top of that the music, these stoic people with some really great cultural stuff being sprinkled in with different quests and stuff. There's the quest with the girl who's an orphan. I don't remember the name of the quest. She runs around with a helmet with you to get some stuff done. One of the most meaningful quests I've ever played in my life. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, it had a lot of that echoed a lot of my feelings. Do you remember back in vanilla there was out in the Plaguelands there was that quest where there was that I think it was like a ghost girl who wanted you to get her teddy bear.
Oh, right. I remember that.
It felt a little bit like that. Like it was cute and sad and
heartfelt, genuine.
Yeah.
Didn't feel like just a throwaway story idea. In fact, the side questing, which we haven't really talked about, a huge leap up in my opinion in terms of what you do, how long they are. Some of them are longer than main quest stuff, and in particular the one with the old earthen who's, I forgot what his job was even, but basically he's got Alzheimer's.
Oh yeah,
and
they handled was a rough quest to do.
Yeah, and they handled it so well. You could tell they're people on team that are dealing with some of this with their families, and you could just tell they were doing it with care. And I just really appreciated that. And I don't feel that way about most WoW questing. Period. Like, I've been doing this for a long time. It's all fine, and I don't want to be. I'm not trying to be. What's the word? I'm not trying to minimize the fact that it's not, we like to joke and say, well, it's go get 5 beaver pelts and kill 10 rats. And that's the extent of it. Well, that's not exactly true. There's sometimes those are in there, but most of the time they try to make some meaning out of it. But it's usually a little surface level. This stuff a few times in this game, and even some things in Spider Town, which I didn't expect, are like a little gut wrenching. Like, whoa, we going here? Really improved on that end, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Yeah, I enjoy that stuff a lot. So we'll see what happens with the Arathi. The Arathi are very interesting and untapped in some ways. They're just.
I think we're gonna see a lot of them going forward. I think my prediction is they have a very big role to play even in the next expansion, Midnight.
Yeah.
There's a lot. I have a lot of thoughts about that, and maybe I'll flesh all those thoughts out in like one of those little. Like Bobby's lore take videos that I've been doing. But I think we're going places. I think that the Blood Elves and the Arathi have a lot in common, and that they're gonna find themselves fast friends, and they're gonna be helping each other out, and there's stuff gonna be happening. We know that things are gonna be happening at the Sunwell in the next expansion,
That's
Midnight.
true. Yeah.
And so there's a lot of, if you listen to a lot of these characters talk, you hear that the Arathis, they talk about the sacred flame, and it's they describe it as a mixture between arcane and light
Yeah.
energies. And that, for those of you who are really into the lore, you'll remember that's exactly what the Sunwell is now.
Yeah.
It is arcane magic font that was purified by the holy light. Velen purified it, and so I think there's stuff going to be happening in the next expansion, a lot with the Arathi.
What happened with Kael'thas? Whatever happened to him? I can't remember.
We quote unquote killed him,
So
even though it was before that we killed him multiple times. There was always a setback, though.
Yeah, but that's what I was thinking. Is didn't the last time we kill him? I thought there was another one of those where he kind of broke out or got free or changed his mind or some shit like that happened. I do not remember what ended up happening with him. Part of the problem is he became one of my favorite characters to play in Heroes of the Storm back in its heyday, and I remember thinking, oh, he's fine, and it just stuck with me, and I just, like, for all I know, oh wait, no, we killed him in a raid.
But I'm playing him every week.
Yeah, yeah, he's doing good work out there. Let's see. The other thing I wanted to bring up is a thing that we probably disagree on a little bit still.
Uh-oh. Okay.
I went in really I don't like this spider stuff, and not because I'm afraid of spiders. It's not it. I'm not afraid of spiders. I don't want one crawling on my toast in the morning or anything. But I'm not freaked out by spiders the way some people are. It's not that. It's just, I don't know. I just wasn't in the mood for kind of Halloween Spider Town. And at first I was like, ugh, it's going to take me back to Hallowfall. I can go to Ringing Deeps, anything but this. But now something switched for me. And I don't know if it's because I'm also leveling an undead warlock and he just fits there.
Yeah.
But I have grown to really, really like that entire place and everything going on there, the politics of it, wearing pheromones to sneak around and do shit. I can't explain it, but I don't think you're with me on this one.
No, I chuckled because I'm almost the polar opposite of what everything you're saying. I went in there thinking, oh, this is kind of a cool place. Reminds me of Naxxramas and things we've done before. A little bit of echoes of just other places we've been, right? Like,
yeah.
and I like it, and it's cool. And so went in with all the spider stuff, and then they started giving us quests, and then they started talking about each other. And I've said this in one of the videos I've done, but between the episodes, I cannot remember who the F any of these people are because all of their names sound exactly the same to me. It's like Zizik this and Kiksifith that and Chekthar this, and I'm like, I don't know who you are.
Yeah,
and that's a me problem. I know.
Well, I mean, the reason I like the Vizier is because I remember that he's called the Vizier. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if I had to call him by his real name, I'd be like, oh, okay, this is going to be trouble. But you're right. There's some fiddly stuff like that. I also think always having, well, it depends on how far you are in that city or what you've done and unlocked what. But, sneaking around, trying not to get caught by guards, it's a very Suramar memory. And I didn't like Suramar for the same reasons early on. I was just like, oh my gosh, even walking around in here.
And you know what?
Yeah.
Even more, now that you're a tank, you're leveling and questing as a prot paladin, maybe you'll get this.
Yeah.
I hated even more the stealth stuff because I just want to drop right in the middle of everything and consecrate and wipe everyone out.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something about that place that goes against especially the paladin vibe.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Whereas, when you're in Hallowfall, they're all paladins. Everybody in that whole town. Like I don't even see paladins wearing gear that isn't dropped from quest gear in that zone. Like
that's my transmog is I'm Hallowfall Arathi all the way.
Same. I got a big old torch for a hammer. I got a flaming shield. Like you and I were using the same shield the other day, or the same looking shield.
So it's fine. I get it. I know it's just my taste. I don't like the politics stuff. It just is hard for me to follow. I like big, epic stories that have big, characters and big personalities and everything. And the Azj-Kahet stuff, the Nerubian stuff is not that. But some people love that, and I don't begrudge them for that. Like, I'm glad it's in there for those people, but I also don't think that. I really think that the raid and this first season, we're probably getting a lot of the Nerubians, and it feels like we're going to tie up their story anyway. Yeah. So I'm not too upset about it. But I'm just not feeling it. And the more I get in there, the more I'm like, let me just get this weekly thing done with and get out of here.
Yeah. I wish they were less involved in delves. I said it earlier, but if Bran tells me one more time that don't step on the webs, the Nerubians will come at it. I'm like, I know, dude. I know. Give me the torch thing and I'll burn them. But all that being said, I think that place surprisingly grew on me, and I'm not even really sure why. It might mostly be. You know what I really liked? Good. I like shutting down all the propaganda stuff. That's fun. Like when
that is, yeah.
They're basically, it's like, I don't know what to compare it to. Hey, depending on who's listening, it's like Fox TV, or it's like Fox News and CNN. There, I did it. So everyone got insulted.
Yeah, there you go.
But it's like that. They're just telling you what you want to hear in this place. And you getting to help shut that down for some reason resonated with me. And I was like, all right, I'm cool with that. Otherwise, the subterfuge stuff, I could maybe take or leave. But you're right. I think they're not done. But the Nerubian angle on this is important and very much part of 11.0. And the next expansion, or even maybe subsequent patches for this one, you'll see, way more Earthen / way more Arathi involved in it all. So
right
there you have it. The only other problem I have with the spider people is they're kind of everywhere. So you don't see an Arathi campground in the middle of Azj-Kahet, right? But you see lots of spider shit in Hallowfall. Just because you went down to a weird corner, it's like, this is all webby and weird, and there's some spiders in here. They've infiltrated. Like, they've really tried hard to make them the kind of consistent thing throughout. And I could see if you don't like that stuff, it'd get old. But right now, I like it. I'm okay with it. It grew on me.
Well, good. I'm glad you like it. And there are a lot of people, I'm sure, who like it, and I'm glad they're getting it. So,
as far as other basic stuff about the zones, I really like, as we mentioned, Hallowfall is amazing. I could live there. If they ever put housing in this game, that's where I'm putting it, if that's even an option. I would love that.
Yeah.
What's the other one? Bringing Deeps is, I also like. It had to grow on me, and me helping a bunch of freaking kobolds do anything had to grow on me, because this game set them up to be the most irritating, meme-worthy little pieces of shit with candles on their heads all these years, right? And now suddenly they have meaningful lives. They have needs and wants just like anyone else, and I'm kind of invested in them. So I quite like going around there and doing stuff. And enjoyed my time in that zone. The only other one that I wouldn't call it boring, but the most standard of the zones is outside.
Isle of Dorn.
Dorn, yeah. It's fine. Yeah. But there's nothing about it where you're just like, whoa.
Yeah, it's a pretty zone, but it's kind of more of the same, right?
Yeah. Like they're I can't even compare it favorably to like, what was Dragonflight's main city? Drakenvale. Drakenvine.
Valdrakken.
Jeez. Yeah. Dracula town. Valdrakken puts this new outdoor zone to shame. I just don't think it's that interesting. What I'm doing there is fine. Everything's great. I like the city. Yeah. Everything's popping there. It's great. All that stuff's fine. But riding around in the outskirts doing stuff, I've spent a lot of time farming bees right now because I want that bee mount pretty bad. Mm-hmm. And I'm only, I think I'm 50 of the little honey currency that I need to buy it, and I need like 999 or something like that. I don't even know what it is.
Holy cow.
It's a lot. I'm going to be doing that the whole expansion, I think. And I only go in there for like 20 minutes at a time, kill a bunch of stuff, leave. All my DPS characters get wrecked in there because it's all elites, and it's like big globs of honey, and there's no telling who's going to aggro who. So forget it. I'll just keep taking the paladin in there and do it that way. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about. We talked a little bit about the raid. I still have kind of an issue. Let's talk about dungeons for a second. My biggest issue with dungeons is that they feel a little deprecated because of delves. Just the kind of static nature of a dungeon, which is we've always had, and they're cool dungeons. Don't get me wrong; these aren't bad dungeons or anything. It's just they're static. They're always going to be the same, and that dynamic change of things in delves has made me wish dungeons had some of that. I realize
I don't think you'll see that in dungeons.
Yeah.
And that's because of the people like me who still love dungeons because we do Mythic Plus dungeons. You need it to be the same.
Yeah.
For Mythic Plus, you have to plan out what your route is. You have to think about the best way to move through what you know is going to be there, and then you let other things like the weekly affix impact how things are going to change. There has to be some level of planning when it comes to that. And maybe I'm just thinking about it that way because that's how it's always been and that's how I've enjoyed it. And maybe it could still be fun if every week, like with the delves, you go into one of the delves and there's like one of 3 versions of it that you'll see. Right.
Yeah.
It's still the same place, but whereas this corridor was locked last time, maybe the other corridor is going to be locked and this one will be open.
Right.
And so maybe there's something you could do with that in Mythic Plus and stuff like that in the regular dungeons, 5-man dungeons. But I like the idea that they have different ways of doing things in different parts of the game.
Right.
And so make the dungeons be something that you progress through, and the end game and 5-man content is Mythic Plus the way it's been, and it's working really well.
Sure.
And the delves be for what you're talking about.
Yeah, I agree. I think if they'd have kept delves purely solo, that would have solved it.
Yeah. I still think they should just lean into that. We'll get a lot of emails from people who disagree with me, maybe, but I think they should stop. I think they should just do away with group content in delves.
Yeah,
just
I kind of do too.
Make them single player.
But now that genie's out, how do you shove that back in? Players will lose their minds.
You can't.
You really can't, can you? Unless you completely redesign it next. You got to wait a whole expansion and say we've redone Dell or something. You can't just do it in the middle of season 2 of this expansion or something.
What you do is you incentivize single player content, which they have done, I'm looking forward to doing that. There are lots of achievements that you can only get if you defeat the delves on max level as a single player.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think it's such a great alternative way for me to be off raid schedule and do something meaningful toward gear progression in between when I saw you last. You know what I mean? It used to be more like, well, get your dungeons in and do your things and get your dailies. Like there's all those things and they still exist. But I have a meaningful chance at a really good piece of replacement gear if I just go do that tier 9 delve.
Tier 8, but the
9's unlocked for me. Do you have 9 unlocked? Because mine's unlocked.
Yeah, you just won't get better gear from tier 9.
I didn't realize that they cap it there.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
So you'll get achievements from doing higher tiers, but if you want, all you need to do is go up to tier 8, and you'll get the best rewards.
Well, then I don't know why I tried to do a 9 thinking it was going to be better.
No,
it wasn't.
It's just for bragging rights.
Ah, shit. Well, I did it. I can brag. I did 9.
There you go.
Yeah.
See, you have the right to brag now.
It took forever. It was the one with actually, I think it's up in the aisles. It's up out in the open air. It's the one where the final boss is the bug lady who shoots webs to pull a train through as part of her rotation or part of her phase. And she does the same stuff. So it's not like she's hard in terms of pattern or anything, but she just took forever to die. So I will not be doing tier 9 again until there's a reason to do tier 9. Forget it.
Yeah.
I assume they'll add, they'll buff that, or there'll be a reason to go beyond 8.
I bet you they'll increase they might do a whole new season with just new places to go, or they could just make more tiers.
Yeah.
I kind of worry that if they just add more tiers, then when does that end? But maybe it just ends at the end of the expansion. I don't know. And then they start over again with the new expansion.
I would love new locations. That'd be great.
Yeah, I hope that they do that. But to your point, and to put a cap on the delves thing, if you do tier 8 delves, and you enjoy it, you will get in your vault, you will get heroic raid level gear. And so that's where we're eventually going on our raid team, for example. We'll eventually get into heroic, and you can keep up, Scott, with being geared for that by doing delves.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really great.
It's very cool. What's the thing with the Illidan raid where you can walk out with a heroic dungeon level piece? Do you know what that's about? I didn't check into it.
It's the time walking event, I believe, and
It's a Black Temple. I assume it's Black Temple, right?
Yeah, Black Temple raid. You can go back and do the Black Temple raid. Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking about maybe, I don't know. Do I really
Let's
want
do
to
it.
go through
I've
that?
been thinking about it too.
Have you?
Let's do it.
If we co-queued as grouped up tanks, we'd get in like
yeah.
It would take no time to get in there.
Yeah. Get some people from the raid team, the core within.
Yeah. Let's do it. By the way, if you want to join our core guild, it's super easy to do. And it's part of the core podcast, but it extends over here to the instance. If you're like, man, I could really use a new, fresh, get into a new guild experience. Now would be your time. Head on over to frogpants.com/discord, and it's our Discord. Hop in there. Apply, and you may just get in. We really don't turn anyone away unless you're a dick. So don't be a dick.
Just don't be a dick.
Yeah, just don't be a dick. Let's talk about professions real quick before we get to some of the news worth talking about for the month. Professions. Here's my professions for the thing. If you see my video, you already know the answer to this, but I fly to a mining node, chop, 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 put up my pants, fly over to the, oh, look, it's some kind of weird weed, chop, 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 put up my pants, go to the auction house, which is now in Dornegal, and stick all that stuff in the auction house at whatever defaults they are. And then tomorrow I'll check my mail and I made, 1,000, 2,000 gold.
You've made a lot of money.
That's actually professions right now. Now I know it's early, and this is what happens with gathering early on is nobody wants to go gather themselves. They just want to do their mail. They want to make their leather. They want to do whatever they're doing. Engineers, whoever. So I'm feeding their rush. Yeah. And this will even out over time. I understand that. But for right now, that is professions for me. What are you doing in there?
I'm not gonna talk too much about this because I could rant about professions forever, and we do have news to talk about. But let me just say, I don't do that. I like to do crafting professions. I typically do enchanting and alchemy. And I like to craft and sell things. And for the past something like 4 or 5 expansions, they keep saying that they're making improvements to professions to make it so that you'll be able to, the marketplace will be better, and you'll be able to more easily make money or something like that. But for the past 4 or 5 expansions, every expansion, it's harder and harder and harder for me to make any gold. And I feel like it's like a 1%er problem or a situation we have going here. I feel like every time they make a change, it just makes the rich WoW players richer. And me, I spend so much money trying this time, whatever my new scheme is, I think I'm going to do to make money, and it just fails every time.
Yeah.
And I think next expansion, I'm just going to do what you did.
Just do gathering.
Because I'd probably have, if I'd focused on that, I'd probably be approaching like 1 million gold by now. And you know what? Saying 1 million gold, that's the other thing. Saying 1 million gold 5 expansions ago,
was a lot.
Was a really big deal.
Yeah.
There's like so half the people I know that play WoW have multi-millionaires in the game.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think
so
I've got like, I don't know, the Paladin, which I started in Dragonflight toward the end, is up to about 250,000 gold, which doesn't seem like a lot, but you can do it. You can earn gold. Inflation's real in this game. Like, inflation is a thing. And they don't have enough play. Like, most of my gold throwaway comes from transmog. It's very few other places I just toss gold.
But it's professions are frustrating at the beginning of an expansion. It's very expensive. So here's what I'll do. I'm going to stick it out. I always do stick it out. So why don't we just table the professions talk?
Got it.
And then next month, I'll let you know how things are going after hopefully things have settled down, and I'll have more of a more things to say about.
And I'll have
Professions.
I'll have a way better look at how Gathering is working then versus now too, as a sole thing to do. So yeah, for sure. I think maybe next month we have a little bit of focus on that, and maybe also a better for some people who just don't understand the changes that happened in Dragonflight. It was fundamentally changed. The way that all that worked, including Gathering, it's all weird now. And if you don't have your head around it, it seems kind of impenetrable. I don't think it's
That's a good idea.
It's not
Let's
the easiest thing to get
talk about
into.
Professions next month.
For sure. If you got thoughts on it, keep those coming into us too. theinstance@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. All right. It's time for us to talk about a couple of big news items. And we'll start with this one.
Big news of the month.
Thank you, Chris. So, just a quick check-in. We're not like hardcore Race to World First watchers here. Or maybe you are more than me. Are you keeping track of that much?
No, I typically don't. I check in on it every once in a while. I actually thought, okay, we're going to be doing the instance, and maybe I should check in more than I normally do. And I'll go in this morning. I was thinking, I'm going to go check it. I'm going to watch the stream. They cast it and everything. I'm going to go watch.
Yeah, Team Liquid has like 8 casters they've hired. They partnered with Wowhead. It feels a little cheaty. Not cheaty. I don't want to throw that word around. I'm just saying this seems a little. Well, whatever. Liquid's huge, right? Big, successful gaming conglomerate now. They're no longer just a raid team. But Team Liquid still looks like the North American favorite as of day 6, which I think was yesterday, day 7 today, I think.
Yeah, they're still in there. And I did, like I said, I did get to watch it. I saw that they were, they're not, right now, they're not, at least Liquid. Some of the other guilds are, but at least Liquid is not pushing they're not hitting the raid bosses right now. They've decided to take the end of this week to go and do some Mythic Plus stuff and fill out their vaults and everything to kind of get them positioned to have some better gear at the beginning after the reset tomorrow.
Right.
And I think I would have watched more of this and some of but after about 30 minutes of watching it, and then of those 30 minutes, 10 minutes or 20 minutes were watching them casting, playing, and talking about rating and stuff.
Yeah.
And the other 10 minutes were ads.
Yeah.
Yep. I was done. I was like, I can't do this. I'm not gonna it was like they'd talk for like 4 minutes, and then it'd be like 3 minutes of commercials.
Yeah. So esports of all kinds.
It's on their Twitch. It's the Twitch thing, right? Like it's
right.
It's just because all you got to do is sub to their channel.
Yeah, I'm sure that's all it is. That's all it'll take.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. I get my attention span is limited when it comes to that kind of stuff, but I do think it's interesting. It just takes a long time, so I'm more interested toward
really,
the end.
Lots of really cool planning. The big guilds that are running this, like Liquid and Echo and stuff like that, are just playing constantly. They're rotating people in and out. They do a thing called heroic splits, where some of them will be running the heroic version of the raid, gearing up, where they'll split it up to try to be running that often, and then they'll have a new raid leader who didn't go in there starting the raid, so they can kill the bosses again and try. And they split up their teams in such a way where they can provide maximum opportunity for the people, the right people to get gear drops.
Right.
And so they do that, and then they go in and do Mythic. As of right now, while we're recording, both all the big top guilds like Echo, Method, and Liquid are all 6 out of 8 bosses. They're now on the
one everyone,
the same one that we were on.
Yeah. Even the normals are having trouble with. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, but it was surprising they were also one-shotting a lot of these bosses. All these guilds one-shot the Mythic versions of like the first boss, second boss, stuff like that.
Well, they're professionals.
They
professional players for a reason, I suppose.
Yeah.
I like it. I like learning that they have a coach. Basically, it's not like a raid leader like we would get, where a tank or somebody is sort of calling all the shots or whatever. It's like a dude who's untethered from the fight. He's just out walking around telling everybody what to do. That'd be nice. you know?
Yeah, he's just watching everybody, and it really is like you're at like your kid's soccer game, and the coach is on the side, and they're like, "Hey, oh no, you need to come over here. What are you doing? Come back over here."
Yeah, you just have some angry parents yelling at him. I suppose is the only difference. But I guess some people are going to say, "Well, Scott, they've been doing that for years." No, I know. I just didn't know it.
Yeah,
I didn't know they had a second guy, or that's how they would. It makes perfect sense to me, especially when there's they got big money on the line. They make those are companies now. Like Liquid's not 20 guys in a basement. Like they're a big deal. Not that the rest of us are in basements. You guys know what I mean.
Right.
Anyway, so there's that. I watch it like baseball. I could care less about the 75% of the season before I start to care. And that's what'll happen here. I'll start to get really interested as they get, down to the wire and how close it is.
Yeah, these hard fights are interesting to watch.
Yeah,
and how they approach it.
For sure. Let's talk about the 20th anniversary stuff real quick.
Yeah.
Just a quick breakdown. We're not going to go into everything in super big detail, but they did announce this a couple of weeks or a week or two into the expansion, what their plans are for the November 20th anniversary of World of Warcraft. And according to Blizzard, there are a few things coming that you're going to want to know about. This is all going to happen through November and December. So a big swath of time to earn things, get things, unlock things, all that sort of stuff. You can earn and spend a new currency called Bronze Celebration Tokens. Everyone loves a new currency to keep track of.
Oh my gosh, yeah. If there's one thing that I think World of Warcraft could use more of, it's currencies.
It's currencies, right? And a bigger... Actually, there should be a better way of displaying them, because right now it's just a tab on your character, and it's not great.
Wouldn't it be great if, like, the more currency that you had, there were, like, giant bags, and you got encumbered and had to... I've got 60,000 resonant crystals, and you had to like drag them around.
Yeah, take them everywhere you go. It's just required to do it. Let's see. So these will be you'll spend this on new items for your collection. Engage in the Blackrock Depths raid dungeon. So basically another time. What do they call them? Time
walking.
Time walking. You know what? COVID brain's real. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
I had COVID last week, and I can't remember names. I mean, I always kind of struggle with names, but in this case, it's really bad. Anyway, you can also collect iconic Tier 2 transmog appearance sets. Now, this is the one everyone's talking about because some very famous, very all-time banger transmog. These sets, these Tier 2 sets from back in the day are renowned in the game. And in particular, you and I are going to be wearing that, and here's the problem. So is everyone else. There's going to be a million of these guys, these paladins running around with that stuff on. It's more a realistic little scripture crap on your arm and the little knives that slot in. I mean, it's going to look better than ever, but we are all going to be twins, and it's going to be annoying for a hot minute.
Maybe, but I was complaining about that a little bit to one of the raid teams that I'm on. I was talking to them saying, everyone's going to be wearing it. And I was saying, even me, of course I'm going to wear it, but everyone's going to be wearing it. And they reminded me, they were like, it's kind of on brand for a paladin for like all of them to kind of look the same. Yeah,
you're not wrong, right? We'll just be like Arathis. Everybody kind of looks the same in there.
Yeah.
That is basically Paladin Town. Palatown. They should call it that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what is that one called? It is called... It doesn't have a name, does it?
Judgment. You're talking
Judgment,
about
that's
the
it.
Judgment set for Paladins.
But Judgment set.
Tier 2, there are a lot of iconic ones. The Hunter Tier 2 set was really
that's
cool.
So ugly, I think. I hate the Hunter one. Do you like that? I think it's so bad.
It's all right. I mean, it's fine.
Woof. I don't know why. Maybe it's the feet. It's those clawed feet. Not a fan.
Maybe.
Or maybe it's because they always put them. They always put them in human. Or humans are always wearing this stuff for the previews. That's what ruins it. Give me a big old orc or something. I don't want these stupid humans. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. There are lots of really cool iconic Tier 2 sets that they're remastering completely. They're not replacing the old ones. They're making new versions of it that you'll have to earn through this event. The other cool thing they're doing is there were classes that were not around during Tier 2.
Mm-hmm.
Death Knights, monks.
Yep.
And
this monk set is beautiful, dude.
The monk set looks amazing. So what they're doing is they decided not just to make cool looking sets, but they actually went back and said, how can we reimagine what this set would have looked like during tier 2 and sort of get ourselves inspired by characters in the game and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So for example, evokers, evokers were as a race and everything were invented, were created by Neltharion,
Yep.
who later became Deathwing. So the tier set for evokers is going to be based on Neltharion's another famous black dragon from the tier 2 time,
That's
right?
awesome.
Like from during that time. So they're reimagining some of these sets and stuff. So I think they all look really.
I think the Death Knight in particular is maybe my favorite of the new imaginings.
Right.
The Demon Hunter would also be in that category. He looks pretty cool. As far as the old ones go, it's hard not to see the Judgment set and not get stoked, right? It's just hard. You have to.
Yeah.
But the Druid, little hats off to the Druid because that's pretty badass.
Druid looks good.
Yeah. Anyway, that's coming with the 20 years, of course. You're also going to get did I mention Blackrock Depths? I did.
Yes.
That's awesome. Very excited about that. We're going to go time walking through classic World of Warcraft dungeons. We are going to get a new mount. It's an Blizzard Employee Service Awards cosmetic. Or no, that's not what that is. That's a separate thing. But I don't know what the mount is. Do we know what the mount is? They show us?
They've told us what it is. I honestly can't remember. There's so much, but they do have
if I can find
it on the. Oh, it's
it's a bird. It's another bird.
Yeah, it's kind of like so many birds. You're not wrong about that, Scott. They're always giving us birds.
So many birds. This bird is called let's see, service bird, Cold Flame Tempest Mount.
Yeah, it does look cool.
It's just kind of a chicken, but it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. All right. It's also a 20-year balloon toy. It's like basically a treasure chest that pops out a bunch of balloons, and one of them is those metallic balloons that make letters or numbers, and it says 20.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. And Little Kaz and Lil Doomy are your pets that are coming. Some new world bosses to fight, including stuff in really old zones. Let's see. I'm trying to find one of these here. Caverns of Time expanded event, they say. Chromie, she's got a new time-bending adventure with the Codex of Chromie, so that'll be fun. Discover new secrets and solve them with guest relations. Okay, I don't know what that means. Defeat.
They're gonna have this whole celebration zone. It's sort of like a party area.
Yeah,
where you're going to a celebration party, and there's just gonna be like people you can talk to, and some of them are guest relations people that'll give you like little things to do, and you can go play here and do this fun thing over here. And
great, and probably earn some currency while you're in there, so that's good.
Yeah,
you can defeat party crashing world bosses, including the Shah of Anger and Archivon of Stonewatcher. Am I saying that right? Archivon? It's been a while. Archivon. It's been a long time since I've seen that name. Shah of Anger, though, I think is our pal Liam O'Brien does the voice of the Shah of Anger. I think. Yeah. Illidan and that, I believe. Anyway, let's see what else. We go back for some PvP revenge during Korak's Revenge in Alterac Valley. No thanks, but I'm glad it's there for those who want it. And also, they are celebrating 30 years of Warcraft with Warcraft 3 themed back appearances in the Trading Post. It's another thing I wanted to mention. Trading Post, it's one of my favorite new additions to the game because I love transmog, like collecting everything. I feel like I never have enough currency. And I'm not asking Blizzard to sell me currency. I'm not saying that. But I might do it if they did. That's all I'm saying. Like, that's terrible to say. I'm anti this.
You'd do it, and you'd complain about it.
And I would complain that I have to do it, but I'd never have enough of it. So I want to buy this crocodile. It's on there now, and I'm just shy like 100. And I don't want to wait. Also, I think it's about to refresh soon, right? Is it monthly? How often does it refresh?
It's monthly. It's the beginning of every month,
So we got to wait a few more days. We'll see what happens. All right. One other thing I wanted to mention before we move on I want to talk Mythics with Bobby and kind of what he's doing right now, because, we promised you guys a little more of a hardcore look at some of that stuff, and boy, howdy, are you into that. But before we do, a small change that has big effects. In 11.0.5, as currently constituted on the beta, or the, what do you call it? The test server. What's wrong with me?
The PTR.
PTR, geez. content will now, time walking content in particular, will now scale up to you instead of you scaling down to it, which is how it's been since the inception of time walking. This is the most right and good thing I've heard all week. This is how it always should have been. I hate that feeling of, well, you're level 70, like previous expansion. You're level 70, but now basically you're effectively a level 10. That just feels stupid. I don't like it. Yeah. So it's the other way around now. This content, which I love that they do this. Give me the old stuff. Let's not have that just waste on the vine. Give us a reason to play it.
Right.
Scales up to me. And I say, good job, guys. I like that. Bobby, let's get into some hardcore talk.
Children, the depths are my domain.
Goodness. Yogg Saron or whoever that was. I don't even know. Bobby, let's talk about Mythics. You are in the middle of your usual, like, go crazy on Mythics, and I just think people should know what that means and whether or not they should feel more comfortable this expansion or even this season poking their head in there as opposed to previous attempts.
It's a little weird right now. So I should let people know how I interact with Mythics. I do have a Mythic Plus team that we play like once a week, and we get in there and do stuff, and we progress and we try to get rating and stuff like that. But my primary way that I interact with Mythic Plus is entirely in a masochistic way, because I climb through the rankings and get all my gear and higher keys by doing pugs. And so it's something that for some reason I really, really enjoy. I have this value of mine also that I think pugging dungeons in general has always made me over the years made me a better tank, for example.
Sure.
And so it's just something that I've learned to really like to do is pug through stuff. And Mythics in general feel really good right now. In their variety, there are a couple of them that feel like they still need a little tweaking and tuning, and that's normal. So I don't try to focus too much of that early on, because they're gonna make tweaks. They're gonna do stuff like that. Some of the dungeon bosses are doing too many things at once, or overlapping abilities in ways that are really difficult to avoid, which cause lots and lots of wipes. But that's all stuff that gets tweaked, so whatever.
Right.
But they feel like there's a really good variety between all the different Mythics. All the environments feel different. All the challenges that you have to go through in the bosses feel different. And it feels really, really good right now. I hate Siege of Borealis.
Why? What's the problem there?
There's just it's chaotic. It's so the whole thing with Siege of Borealis is you're going through this town that is under attack by like it's being sieged, right?
Yeah.
So it's under attack and you're trying to move through it and do all this stuff. And so you're going through the city of Borealis, and there's a bunch of different paths that you don't actually take. But it looks like you can take them, so it's confusing.
Yeah.
And then there's a bunch of trash mobs that you don't actually need to fight, but you can see their bars there, and they light up, and you can attack them, but you didn't need to, because if you had just walked past them, they would have ignored you because they're already fighting another NPC. and then it feels stressful and chaotic, and maybe that's what they were going for, but whatever. It's
I think it could
use a lot, and
they could use some tweaking, maybe a little.
Well, it's just there's a ton of trash in that place too, and there's no amount of tweaking that'll change that. But there are a lot of dungeons in the past. You know, the way Mythics work is the game launched with 8, the Mythic Plus season anyway. The game launched with 8 new dungeons.
Yep.
But during a Mythic Plus season, you only play 4 of them. 4 of them are in the rotation, and the other 4, because you still have 8 dungeons in the Mythic Plus season, the other 4 come from past expansions. So you have So in this one, we're going back to Mists of Tir na Scythe from from Shadowlands. We're going back to the Necrotic Wake from Shadowlands, Siege of Borealis from Battle for Azeroth, and then what's the other one? I can't remember off the top of my head. Oh, Grim Batol from I think that was Cataclysm.
Yeah.
and so you sometimes have to encounter some of the old issues and ways that they designed dungeons at certain times, and at the time Siege and during Battle for Azeroth, a lot of the dungeons had a ton of trash.
Yeah.
And so
Siege of Borealis, that was how do we put this? I'm trying to think like the biggest trash era in dungeons and in Siege or in raids even is probably that expansion. Right.
There might have been worse times back in Vanilla and Burning Crusade and stuff like that, but
sure.
But in the what you might call the modern age, like the second half of all of that stuff, definitely Battle for Azeroth had a lot of trash.
Yeah.
But it's okay. They increased the timer. So the other thing about Mythic Plus, for anybody who'd never played before, you go in and there's a timer. You want to beat the whole thing in a certain amount of time. If you do, then you get more rewards at the end, and the key that you use to increase the difficulty gets leveled up, and then you can go back in and increase the difficulty a little bit higher, and the higher the difficulty, the better rewards you get.
Right.
So you keep going back over and over and doing it, and that's what I love about content. I like challenging content that requires me to try harder, do better, and think more, and get stuff done.
Your attitude about that stuff has changed the way I think about farming or repetitive content in MMOs. Before talking to you about that and kind of getting that take that you just now re-expressed on the show, I just always thought, well, I wish these games relied less on giving me the same things over and over and over, just making it a little harder or whatever. Yeah. It's a very myopic view of the whole thing, right? But that's kind of where my head was at. The way you describe it, that's the point of these, right? That's the whole idea. It isn't that I've seen this boss 15 times. That's not the point.
Yep.
The point is
that's exactly right.
The 14th time I was here, we did this. This 15th time, we're going to up our game. Whatever. Like you're looking at it as a different enterprise than just, hey, I'm fighting a dude.
And they tweak the challenge of the experience a little bit from week to week as well. So for the first week, the boss, so they'll alternate back and forth. First week, the boss's health and damage are really, really high. And then the next week, the boss's health and damage are back to normal levels, but all the trash health and damage will be high. And so it's a different challenge. You in the first version, when the bosses are dangerous, you can blow through all the trash really, really fast, and then you have to be really careful. And the mechanics of the bosses are super important to follow, right?
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of wiggle room. But when the trash is really, really high, you have to go a little bit more slowly, carefully. You can't pull as big of pools to get to the bosses. But when you get to the bosses, it's almost like the boss is not even the boss. The trash is the boss on those weeks,
Yeah.
And so and then on top of that, you have this new feature called Xal'atath's Bargain, which adds a whole new feature to the thing. So this week, what it is 10 of these little orbs pop out, and they all start casting an ability that if the orb finishes the cast, then it will buff the enemies that you're fighting, bosses, trash, whatever. So you want to, and when you interrupt the orb, the orb explodes and gives your team a buff.
Oh, wow.
So you have to kind of figure out, how am I going to build my talent loadout to best be able to have plenty of interrupts to handle, so that our whole team can handle all 10 of these. Are we gonna be able to cover all those? How are we gonna coordinate that? And it's just more. And so next week, that challenge won't be there. It'll be a new Xal'atath's Bargain, and there are 4 different ones that they'll rotate between.
Yeah.
And so that just adds a whole nother layer of interesting challenge.
Sure.
So
it seems like pugs that'd be a challenge to pug that kind of thing, though.
Right? It is, and that's part of what I like about it, is having to deal with that frustration. To me, it's kind of like, a lot of these people get to like the plus 10 keys, plus 11, and they did a great job, and they coordinated really well with their teams. And I do also like to have I have a team. I said that, and we do like to try to get there. But being able to say that I got like 2,500 rating, or even 3,000 rating, and I got all of the keys up to +10, and I did it all in pugs. It's just kind of like
next
like
level.
another feather in my cap that I really like to be able to say. You know?
No, I get it. I think that's great. I got a question. Does Dawnbreaker in Mythic mode of any sort or Mythic Plus mode is it just more confusing after knowing where to go after the ship part, or is it, how do they make it work? Because that freaking I'm not gonna. Okay, how do I put this? This is my favorite dungeon in the new expansion. I love it conceptually. I love the way it mechanically works. All that stuff is awesome. It is super weird how to find where the hell you're supposed to be, and the map is not much help. So I've a couple of times now just either get lost and I've like seen this thing multiple times. I should know what the hell's going on. And I get lost every time. Half the team gets lost. Most of them die on the ship because it wasn't great about indicating when you had to fly. Now it does. But, knowing where to go after, it seems like that's a difficulty tier of its own right. And I kind of get, I get mad.
So one of the challenges, it's not like an explicit challenge that they bake into the game, but one of the challenges that is sort of an emergent challenge as a result of how Mythic Pluses work is figuring out the route that you have to take through the dungeon.
Yeah.
You go here, you move here, you skip this trash, you take this trash. You don't need to worry about those. They're not worth the effort, because the other thing you have to do is, before the dungeon is complete, not only do you have to kill all the bosses, but you have a percentage bar that you have to fill up called the forces.
Yeah.
In other words, a certain amount of the trash has to be killed. You can't skip everything, but you want to maximize your efficiency for speed. You don't want to kill more than you need to. So ideally, you get exactly 100% forces filled up. So you've done so you have to figure out that route.
Yeah.
Dawnbreaker is a crazy challenge, because during the first week or two, part of what you're doing, especially as a tank, Scott, is learning the route.
Yeah.
Because I heard you talking about this on Core, on the Core show, not too long ago, about how everyone is looking to you as the tank to know where to go.
Yep.
And so you have to learn the routes.
Yeah.
And Dawnbreaker is nuts, because there's the whole city underneath you, and you can land anywhere.
Yeah. You're also moving. You're on a ship that's moving. So when you do go land, it's not like some stationary thing where it's like, all right, I go up and to the left now. It's like, well, no, you could be on the opposite side of things, and now you got to go all the way across the freaking battlefield again.
Right.
It's really, I'm not saying it's bad. In fact, like I said, it's my favorite dungeon, but it's
a different challenge. It's really interesting. I kind of like it. I've been trying to learn where the best places to land are. Now on Core, John, I know, mentioned that he saw arrows telling him where to go. That was not something that was patched in like he thought it might have been. That's when you're doing the follower dungeon, they just tell you where to go.
Oh, that's why he saw it, because he did follower.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but when you're doing heroic, and especially Mythic Plus, not only do they not tell you, and it's not just to be like dicks and say, like, you got to figure this out on your own.
Yeah.
That's not the reason, really. It's because different groups can go different places. It's really kind of part of the challenge is to figure out what works best for you.
Yeah.
Do you want to land here and take out this trash and then go to this boss? Or do you want to land over here because it's just easier because you have, polymorph that you can use as a mage? And, it's so they can't tell you where to go next, right?
Right. But that's what makes that a much more interesting thing, even though we don't know what we're doing. Players just don't like change. So when you're not handheld to the next area, everyone panics. And people were yelling like, where the hell is everybody? I'm like, I'm coming. If I just knew where you guys are at, freaking somebody mark yourselves or something. It's a weird thing. So
the last thing I'll say about Mythics, because I'm really enjoying it. So I guess two things. First of all, I'm going to start this coming week. I'm going to try to stream some of my Mythic Plus pug journey.
Nice. Here, Wayne, let's tell people right now where you're going to stream it. YouTube to Twitch, or where are you putting it?
You know what? I was going to ask you, which one do you think is better nowadays, Twitch or YouTube?
Well, for me,
for games, let's say for gaming.
If you would have asked me this 6 years ago, I might have said Twitch without even hesitation. But I actually think YouTube might be better these days. It's the aces for me, like monetization wise, but like actual tech reasons, I have a better experience on YouTube. I have better looking video when things are done with the same bit rates than I do that I would use on Twitch. I just overall have a better experience, and also less ads. And I just think it's a better, I don't know. Like if I had one beef, it's the chat rooms, aka basically comment rooms in live YouTube channels, don't even hold a candle to live Twitch streams because they don't have all the functionality in there. There's so much crazy stuff you can do in your chat that you can't do on YouTube necessarily.
Right.
That would be my only beef. But the actual, like, how's the stream going out? How good does it look? Is it more consistent and not dropping a lot? Is it better bit rate later and not all artifacty? All those sorts of things. Way better over on YouTube. And the other advantage is if you're also putting other supplementary content up, like follow-ups, short versions of this, a chunk of your stream moved out and put into a smaller thing, you're already doing that on YouTube anyway. So it kind of keeps it all under one roof. And I also like scheduling, the way the scheduling system works in YouTube. So I'm kind of all over the place there, but my overall has been over the last couple of years trying to really test things out, including multi-streaming, which I've now dropped because it just wasn't doing it. It was, if anything, it was splitting people up even more. And that's really not the point with a community. I ended up coming back to YouTube as kind of the mainstay for those reasons I just gave you. I don't know if that'll help or not, but.
Well, so I'm probably going to make an attempt to switch over to YouTube. I've been doing it on Twitch, so I might start on Twitch. Twitch, it's Bobby Franks, twitch.tv/Bobby Franks.
Cool.
But I've been thinking about switching over to YouTube anyway, so I probably will eventually do that. So, but for now, check out that if you want to do that. But the last thing I had to say was I've got a beef with Delves, and that is that I've noticed at the beginning of an expansion, the Mythic Plus world of pugs is actually pretty good.
Yeah. Groups
are more tolerant. Everybody knows you're learning. You need to get in there and do the stuff, so they're willing to tolerate people learning things because you want to fill out your vault and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed a lot more impatience and people just dropping after one or two wipes in Mythic Plus, and I think it's because of delves. You can just go into a delve and get what you want. So people are just way less patient with Mythic Plus.
That is one of the downsides, right? Or potential downsides.
So once you get up to the high keys, like 7, 8, 9, that probably will go away because you still need to do it.
They're in it to win
or
it
at least it'll
point.
be less.
Yeah.
But climbing the keys, building up, getting your keys leveled up and everything is a little bit more of a slog now, and I think it's because of delves.
Yeah. I could see that. I mean, that's the balance I've got to figure out is how much to reward people for just whipping through a delve versus making them work with pugs or do all the other jump through hoops you have to do for a Mythic Plus. That's going to be a weird balance as they move along. But I like when you have beef. So bring the beef anytime you want.
Yeah.
Always bring beef.
Lots of beef.
All right. Let's get into some town criers this week.
Hear ye, hear ye. Hear ye, hear ye.
Why, it's the town crier.
It's the town crier.
The town crier.
I swear that gets longer every time I play it. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the part of the show where we read your feedback. And we got it in the form of a couple of calls to start with. And I'm going to start with this one, which is just a nice call, and I just thought it'd be nice to play it. So here it is.
Hey, Senor Johnson. This is for the instance. Just wanted to say, watched the recent WoWcast that came down from Blizzard itself. You did an epic job interviewing Mr. Metzen and talking about the War Within and the history of World of Warcraft. Just keep being awesome, dude. You are epic and amazing, and I love all of your content that you create. Keep going and have fun doing it. Hope you are having a great week. Bye-bye.
Well, that was very nice of you to say.
Yeah.
I have to say, so we haven't really had a chance to talk because I don't think the interview even landed before you left or before our last episode. Maybe it did.
It had.
Had it? Okay. But just barely. It was like
the day of or the day before or something.
Yeah, it may have been the day before. that was really a great experience for me. And I just wanted to say how thankful I am to everybody and their nice feedback about it. Obviously, a 2-hour conversation got chopped down to about 25 minutes. There's a ton of stuff that we probably never hear from that thing. But, huge thanks to Chris for even thinking of me in the first place. And what's nice about Metzen is when we were raiding the other night, or whenever we do anything big in WoW, he and I have been friends forever. So I'll send him a quick text and go, hey, we're about to raid, first night raiding, I'm going to tank. And he'll write back weird things like, you go, girl, or, stuff like that. Anyway, he has expressed also to everybody's kind words, because he was really nervous about that. That was like a big target, like big expectations, things about to launch, everybody's sweating bullets over here. And he was, he just wanted everything to go well. And I think it went really well. So big thanks to him, the team at Blizzard that helped to make that happen and all that stuff. And you guys have been very nice in your comments. Very much appreciated. Here's another one about early access.
Hey, this is Jay calling from Minnesota, listening to The Instance. Glad it's back. I, like Bobby, that was my first podcast experience, was The Instance years and years ago. Listening to the episode, you were talking about the ability to pay more in order to get early access to the game. And to be honest with you, it annoyed me too. But in hearing you discuss it, it made me think of something else. What if they did one step further and allowed you to pay less and get a discount on the game in order to say, well, I'll wait 10 days and I'll start 10 days in? I would be interested to hear your comments on that.
It's a very interesting idea. It's never going to happen, but imagine this, like, they would. I don't know how they'd even do the math. Like, they're not going to get okay. Let's say early access bought you an early. What was it? A week? I guess you got 7 days or 6 days, whatever it was. Yeah, 4 days. I don't know. But let's say you figure out what the math on that is. That's $40. Let's say 4 days. $40 for 4 days. That's $10 a day. If you expect Blizzard for 10 days of coming to the game late to deduct $10 a day for 10 days, they're not going to do it. I mean, actually, you're literally, the game is free at that point.
Yeah. If you were to come to them and propose this, they might die laughing.
Yeah, they might actually die laughing, and then the game ends and no one gets to play it.
Which I'm not making fun of this person, because it's all they're doing is saying, like, because in a way, from one perspective, you can think about this as that, right? Like, maybe we all felt like we had to pay for the early access. Obviously not all of us, but a lot of us felt like we kind of had to.
Sure.
So for many of us, the early access price was the price of the game, right? And then all of you other, like, probably smarter people were really were paying less to start later. And so that's one perspective of what happened, right?
Sure. He's also playing with the logic of why you would charge for early access anyway, and why we just accept that. It does seem weird. It's not it's not them doing some altruistic thing of saying, we really want those who want in early. I mean, it's going to cost you a little something, but we're here for you to get in.
We need to, it's going to take some extra money for us to hire some people to come and turn the switches to turn the thing on. So we got to pay for them. We got to pay them money.
Yeah.
So if you just give us a little bit more, we might be able to. That's not what's happening.
No, that's not what they're doing. That's not it.
They're saying, oh, they have some extra money in their wallet. I wonder how we can get that out.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. They're not thinking logically about it, so that when you propose the idea, well, I'm not coming early, I'm coming late, what are you going to pay me? That was never in the cards. But I appreciate the concept. And also, of course, the phone call, 801-471-0462 is where those voicemails came. That's 801-471-0462. You can also use it as a text line if you prefer. Like this person did, although I think this person used the web. Yeah, they did. This is about Patreon rewards. It's from Gary Yelland, I think is how you say it. The subject was Wallpaper Patreon. I am thinking of joining the basic tier of the Instance Patreon and would love some of your artwork for my phone and laptop wallpaper. Warcraft or TWW related, meaning the War Within, is something that is in the basic package. I have listened for years. Yeah, I think that may end up coming to fruition. Digital, certainly at first, right? Like adding another tier of, well, we got to print a whole bunch of things and ship them out the door. Like, we may not do that right away, but the whole point of this particular Patreon, and also this iteration of the show was not to say, bam, here it is exactly as it will always be. That is not what we're doing here. And that includes what the show might evolve into. The reason we started monthly instead of weekly, because we felt like, well, that gives us some wiggle room. If we introduce more content, that's better than taking away. So, so it fits there too, right, with what we do on the Patreon. So I would keep my eyes on that, though, because I would like to do some digital rewards of various kinds. Some might be audio, some might be strictly artwork. Wallpapers is a great idea, or avatars, that kind of thing. We'll keep you informed, is basically what I can say there. All right, now I have something very special to share with everybody. And I can't wait to do this. So I'm just going to do it. Here you go. Put on your nostalgic Instance glasses that an engineer in the game made for you and charged you too much gold for, okay? Put those glasses on, look back in the past, and let's listen to what Patrick has to say for his mod of the month. This would be episode 107 of the mod of the what used to be of the week. 107 of these now. Again, I present Patrick Beja, everyone's favorite Frenchman, really, with his edition of this month's mod of the week.
Hey everyone, this is Patrick with your mod of the month. Today's mod is called Console Port, and it's pretty incredible. What it does is that it allows you to play WoW with your controller. It works with any controller, PS5, Xbox, anything, and it takes advantage of all the functionalities of each controller. But beyond that, the way it remaps the UI and makes very clever use of every modifier and every functionality of the controller is really amazing. It allows you to comfortably play the game after a little bit of fiddling, of course, but it does allow you to comfortably play the game from your couch or just, if you prefer, to use a controller to your mouse and keyboard. Blasphemy, I know. But honestly, after having used it for a few hours, I'm pretty confident that some of you will actually prefer this to the normal way of playing. What the developers of this mod are doing is amazing, both UI and functionality-wise again. The mod is called Console Port, and I think you should give it a try.
I did, Patrick. Thank you, Patrick, by the way. That was amazing. And he's right. It 100% works the way you would want it to work. It feels like Blizzard made it. That's how good it is. It's an incredibly good way to interface with a controller. Here's my only beef. And truly my only and one beef with this. I want it to be Blizzard officially sanctioned controller support. Let them copy this. That's fine. Work with these guys. Pay the money. I don't care how. But integrate it into the game directly and put WoW, a client version of WoW in Steam so that I can more easily, natively, run WoW on my Steam Deck. Then I'll never not be playing World of Warcraft. I'll have it with me all the time. I would love this. I did that with Final Fantasy XIV for a long time. Beautiful use case for the Steam Deck. Worked wonderfully. And this is a lot like that control scheme. A lot of this stuff is kind of lifted from it, to be honest, how the triggers work and all that. They're basically like shift keys in a lot of ways. But the experience is very good. Patrick is right. I tried it after he first mentioned it. You guys should give it a shot as well. See what you think. I know I can hack my Steam Deck to do this. Hack it by putting Windows on there. I know there's ways to do this. I don't want to do all that. I just want to fire it up and play it.
Making World of one. If there's one way to bring the cost. Speaking of professions, bringing the cost of mats down.
Yeah,
is if everyone can just play in bed.
That's right, dude. How much do I like? I'm not going to use this probably in a raid situation, or maybe I would. I don't know, but I would definitely use it when I'm just flying around looking for nodes.
Yeah, and then you pop. Everybody's putting more stuff on the auction house, and then Bobby can make our potion cauldrons for a much lower price.
That's right. I keep hoping WoW's the next big Steam. I mean, what do we have on there? We have Overwatch was first, or Overwatch 2, and Diablo 4 are all on Steam. There's a lot of questions about what will be next. I hope it's WoW. So
know they want to. They're just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and if they do that, then I'll just use the mod in the Steam version. Oh, I wouldn't have to rebuy everything again. That would suck all hell and back, wouldn't it? They wouldn't do that to me. They didn't do it. You know what? They didn't do it with me with Diablo, and I rebought the game, the base game. I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
But I don't want to like Final Fantasy, they don't even let Mac and PC users share the same account. To them, those are two different platforms, even though in WoW, I can play it on my Mac or PC anytime. Shout out, by the way, to my Mac players who, just a quick note here. If you have one of the Mac Studios, even the early M1 Mac Studios, WoW is glorious on that device. It's so good. They made it native and it's really good. So don't feel like your PC friends are, have some huge advantage over you. It runs at a, beautiful full 60 frame plus, depending on what your monitor supports, clip, and looks amazing. Thank you, Patrick. Can't wait to hear from him again. He's awesome. We love him. That is going to do it for today's show. However, we got a lot of new patrons and I got to read them. All right. So a couple things before that. Guild reminder. If you want to be a part of our guild, hop into patreon.com/frogpants. Look for the core guild. You'll find it pretty easily. There's a ton of stuff on the Frog Pants Discord, but that whole area is popping right now, and you'd be welcome. Tanner's who you're looking for, Straven in there if you're looking for an invite. Don't overwhelm the poor guy. He's already doing a lot, and I'll feel bad if you overwhelm him. Anyway, now to our Patreon at patreon.com/theinstance. I don't even know where to start, so I'll just start at the top. Mick Smith, Muhammad Sheriff, Spencer Cole, William Warnicky, Too Hip for Hair. There's probably a bald guy, right?
I love that one.
Michael Marin. Let's see. Joseph Campagna. Kyle Velotti. I mean, if you got a weird name, you're running the risk of me having to say it.
This is what people are paying for, Scott, is to hear you say their name.
I swear sometimes people use fake hard to say last names so that I'll screw it up. Fuzzy Pockets, Thomas Chambers, Zach, Abdullah, Justin Salisbury. I knew a guy named Scott Salisbury. Anyway, Daniel Dupree, David Hearthstone Power Helms. I'll bet he's got a show called Hearthstone Power. And if he does, then you should go listen to it. Bradley Wills, Ian Makes, Bill Capella, Robbie Hill, Jay Steen, E. Johnson, 7973. E. Johnson. There's something there. Anyway, Chip-a-Lip is a great name. Swordfish, Mick Milton, Fawi, Dingus, Texas. That is not a real town. That's just this guy's name. The Man with the Plan, Rogue Pogue, Wauga, Jeffrey, Chris Peretti, James Pierce, Kyle Holder, Dave Schultz. What's this one? Macroholic. Oh, he likes the macros.
Yeah.
Actually, do you use any? You got any good Pally macros you can tell me about? Because I don't.
Of course I do. I'll hook you up.
Because I got stuff. I mean, go to some website and look it up. But I need.
I bet Macroholic has some too.
That'd be a great site. Macroholic.com. Oh man. Anyway, Kristen, William Aiken, Alex Mater, Jerry Tolbert. Oh, we already knew about him. I mean, no, he didn't. That was a different show. Anyway, Jerry supports everything. He's the best. Wayne Raylene and old Peter Storbaton. I'm pretty sure I got it all right. Old Peter's in here. Thank you all. You'll be getting all kinds of great benefits, especially the no ads thing. Just no commercials anytime. You're basically just in there for good, and it's only a monthly, so it's a pretty inexpensive way to support your favorite show about WoW. Go check it out. That, again, is patreon.com/theinstance.
Look forward to, I might be talking some Arathi and predictions for lore stuff for patrons later.
We're going to put that's the other thing to expect during the month. So one of the things that we kind of learned through the first month, lots of supplemental content on YouTube, on the podcast feed, wherever it fits, but also Patreon exclusive stuff that you're just going to get. No one else will ever see it. Your lore video that you put up is a good example of that. No one else even knows it exists, except these patrons. And if you're a brand new patron and you join today, you get that stuff already. It's just there for you on the feed. So anyway, all of that hopefully makes sense, and we will have more of that kind of content in the next month as well. And we'll let you know when our next episode is toward the end of October for this full chat. Bobby, is there anything I've forgotten? I feel like this was a lot today. It was a lot.
It's a lot. It's been an exciting month, and I think we did our best to talk about the things we were excited about.
That's
right.
That's
what we're here to do.
Yeah.
So.
And I'll leave you with one story. If you're like me and you enjoy going out and finding mining nodes, and you like going out and finding, herbs to farm and whatever, just be careful of that one herb that explodes and then flings you 400 feet from your position. Now, sometimes you hit a wall and it's no problem. You take a little damage. Sometimes you take a little fall damage. Not a big deal usually. But if you're doing this in Hallowfall where there's lots of cliffs and waterfalls, just be careful where you're aiming yourself, because if that thing knocks you off, you will go halfway across that damn map, and if you don't hit a body of water, you're dead. All right? First death I had as a paladin in this game came from that.
Ouch.
Yeah. In the entirety of World of Warcraft, first death as a paladin. How embarrassing. Anyway, that's your advice. Go do what you will with it. Get ready for raid night, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Have a great month.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Yes. Get more at frogpants.com.
Think about it.
Whoa. That was Thrall. He said, think about it.